Good morning. Happy Sunday morning to everyone in the chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. Mars, thank you so much for being here. I feel like I kind
Always.
of do this where I'm like last minute or like a couple days. I'm like, hey, do you just want to go ahead and do this in a couple days? Like,
Listen,
not
she
much.
actually gave me like advanced time this time. I had more than 12 hours to prep for this. It was pretty rad. I think you texted me like Thursday or Friday and you were like, "Do you
Yeah.
want to do a thing?" And I'm like,
Yeah.
at this point it's like a daily schedule now. It's like Sunday, I'm just expecting Jen to be like, "Do you want to do casually comics?" So the
Let's
day that
do
you
it.
don't do it, I'm going to get really offended and think you hate me.
I've been trying to do a little bit better about keeping up to a schedule. My work schedule seems to like change, and I do my weekly show with Dan, and I also do my weekly show. I'm doing a new weekly show with Hero and the Kid, which they should be in the chat. So like, there's a couple weekly things that I'm doing, and I'm like, I need to do a weekly thing on like my channel. So
Mm-hmm.
here we are. So today I know that we want to go ahead and go over like some like holiday gift suggestions, and like we've both got like big old gift giving recommendations, not
Huge
just
stacks.
huge, like seriously, and not just for the holidays, but I think that just gift giving in general, but with a
Yeah.
focus on the holidays because that's coming up, I guess. Time is an
Because
illusion.
like comics are like the perfect gift. Like I
Yeah.
try to give comics whenever I can, even to people that I don't think read comics. Because
Hmm.
listen, I'm gonna get it tattooed on my forehead. Comics are for everyone, and there is a comic out there for you. You might not read them as obsessively as me and Jen do, but I feel
You
like
might.
everybody at some point reads them. You might.
And I think that's kind of the beautiful thing too, is that even for people like us who seem to read obsessively, seem to read a lot, there's something that we don't have. There's something that we don't know about. Like, I know that you're always doing these beautiful videos, and like, I made the call out where I'm like, hey, I want to buy some books. Can you give me some suggestions? And then like you videoed your wall, and you're like, this one, that like that was
I
beautiful. That
literally
was perfect.
sent you like a manic crazed video at 2 a.m. I remember that. And it was just me screaming about comics that I love. So that's our
That is
relationship, guys.
that is my brand. Like, that is how I need comics to be explained to me, is
It's just
just
screamed from the top of a
this one.
mountain.
Because if you haven't been on this, like watched the show already, that's kind of like how I present things anyways.
That's
So
what we do.
yeah. Mars, what are you reading currently? Like, did you get any pickups this week for like single
Uh,
issue comics?
so for single issues, it was actually a really light week for me. Black Widow #4 dropped, and I know you don't like that one, but the way that this one ends, who is it emotional? And Elena Casagrande's art alone, she did this really gorgeous, and I wish I had it here now, but she did this really gorgeous 2-page spread action sequence, and like her work is drop dead gorgeous and honestly reminds me of Joelle Jones. So Black Widow continues to be a phenomenal read. I picked up Strange Adventures, number what, like 6 or 7, but like
Seven. Yeah. So this week was seven.
at this point, I'm just like, I'm halfway through. I'm obligated to read it. I feel like I'm gonna love that one much more once it's all finished and in a trade. And then the only other really big book for me this week was Batman Catwoman #1, which
Yeah.
I have been waiting. Listen, I have been waiting all my life for this book. Okay. I love Tom King. I love when Tom King writes romance, and he did not disappoint with the spice. And I'm sorry, I was sitting on my couch, and there's little moments when they're kissing in the sky or they're holding hands during a fight. And I'm just like, this was made with me in mind. And I love it
Oh.
so much.
It's so funny that you mentioned, I'm sorry, well, I was listening while you were talking about that, but because you mentioned Black Widow. And no, I did not really like the first couple issues of this. I read issue #4, and I'm like, I wish they had started here. I wish that they would have given
Well,
us this Natasha from the beginning. I get that they were setting it up, but I needed it to start here. I actually loved this issue. I loved
it
this
was
issue of Black
good.
Widow. Hmm.
It was a good issue, and I think the reason why I connect with this Black Widow tongue tied here Sunday morning, Black Widow run more so than the others is I feel like Natasha is always deemed as like this stoic, emotionless assassin hero, and I feel like here, even though she's been brainwashed, she's starting to show some personality, and I feel like with issue 4 in particular, because she's broken that brainwash state. that emotion is still carrying over, especially within those last couple pages. And I love seeing this side of her.
For sure. And there's that moment where she's talking to her husband and she's like, you need to forget me. Like, you need to forget
I
this ever
cried. Like,
happened.
I actually teared up a little bit.
Yeah, that was emotional. I do really quick want to mention this comment from Travis. There's a comic for everyone. You just need to open your mind to it. Also, it's not all superheroes. Like if there was a subtext to the comics are for everyone tattoo, it'd be like it's not all superheroes. Um, so
And then
there are,
underneath of that, it's going to say it's probably going to be Saga.
spoiler alert, it's Saga.
Spoiler alert.
But you know, it's funny because I was on a show last night, the Nerdy Collective with Comic Book G Spot, White Glove, and Cantonese Comic Kid. And White Glove was saying, you know, he was like, "Why should I read indie books? Like, I've been reading comics for 4 decades now. What is it about these comics that I need to read? Why should I be reading indies?" And I was like, you know, you don't have to, like you're not obligated. But the thing is that not everyone's been reading comics for 40 years. I've been reading comics for about 2 decades now. Um, you know, ain't my first rodeo. Like I kind of know what I'm doing and talking about. But you know, when it comes to, and the comment that he made was he didn't know how to get started with indies. And I'm like, okay, well, the same thing for people who are just getting started. They don't know where to go with you know, a lot of these legacy characters. So for indie comics, a lot of times you can just pick it up and you don't have to, you know, read 4 decades worth of comics.
Exactly. And the difference, and I know I've said it, I feel like I've said it every time this conversation has come up, is, you know, when you're getting into indie comics versus getting into, say, Batman or Spider-Man or something, is you can go into a bookstore, find a title that interests you, and pick number one. Whereas if you go to a Batman section, there's going to be at least 12 different books that are labeled as number one, and it's very hard to figure out where to start.
Yeah.
So that's why I like indie comics, especially for like more of my casual friend readers who are like, I want to read a book, but I don't want to read a book. I want to read a graphic novel per se. And I'm like,
Yeah.
all right, we'll just go into the graphic novel section and start pulling things off the shelf like you would a normal bookstore. Look at the back of the books, flip through the pages, you know?
100% agree. Really quick, and I feel bad for not like immediately doing this. I want to say hi to some people in the chat. So first off, I do want to say good morning to Hero and the Kid. Sean and Will, we just did like the inaugural episode this last Friday. It was really, really fun. We went over everything from like variants, like they're really big into variants, which is cool. We also talked about like what were the big hyped books this week, because yes, we got Batwoman or Batman Catwoman. Ooh, could you imagine Batwoman Catwoman?
That would be
Okay,
a nice
that's like
book.
that's
I'll
my
take that.
slasher.
I'll
Yeah,
take that. We
yeah.
also had King in Black this week, but
King in
I
Black.
don't like Marvel. Well, no, okay, let me finish that statement. I don't like Marvel crossover events. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. Can we move on and just let me enjoy a nice self-contained story? That's all I want.
Can I be honest with you?
Sure.
I enjoyed it. Okay, so I just came off of like this whole um uh Ten of Swords deal going on. And so I'm used to picking up like 3 books a week for just this one event. So it was kind of nice to get pared down and to really just get one. I bought 3 anyways because there was this handy dandy like notebook here that came with this, and I also got the peach Momoko cover. Anyways, we ended up talking about like variants. We ended up talking about the like most like big talked about books, of course, King in Black, Batman, Catwoman. And then we talked about some underrepresented books. So that was really cool. We'll be doing that Friday. If you follow me on like Instagram, that's normally where I post this stuff. So let's see who else is here. I want to go ahead and say good morning to Travis. Thank you. You said that you were looking forward to the show. I hope that we're living up to your expectations. I also want to go ahead and say good morning to Jared, one of my coworkers. I really appreciate you being here, friend. And also Kirby is a new friend that I met. So thank you, Kirby, for being here as well. I think, oh, okay. And then we do, we got Gore Vidal here, so thank you so much for being here. Gore says, I agree with you, Mars. Bruce and Selena did not disappoint. It was the only comic I picked up along with Hellboy and the BPRD, and surprisingly drawn by Adam Hughes. Yeah. Very cool. I really try not to like trash comics. I didn't enjoy Batman Catwoman.
It's not going to be for everybody. Like, I feel
No.
like Tom King's writing is split down the middle. Either you really, really love it or you really hate it. I don't think most things there's a happy medium. When it comes to Tom King, there is not a happy medium. It's one or the other. And like I said, for me, I love romance comics. I love seeing it in my superhero comics. We saw it. And I feel like Tom King really thrives on that. I feel like he is at a romantic, and so we saw it with Mr. Miracle. We've seen it a little bit with Strange Adventures, and then we saw it all throughout his Batman run. So for me, getting a Batman Catwoman comic that is focusing on the romance aspect of it,
and their like just epic span of their relationship.
Exactly.
So that was kind of fun.
And we're gonna get to see Helena Wayne come back, and it's like it's been so
for sure. And I do have to give credit. Most people know I have been hating a lot of Batman comics recently, mostly because every Batman story, Batman 3 Jokers, ended up being a Batman origin story where we see the fucking pearls, pardon my language, but not pardon my language, you should know me by now, but we see the pearls ripping, we see,
the fake pearls, right? The fake pearls.
Bruce Wayne, you got to do better by Martha. So, I'm just tired of seeing that, but I will give Tom King this. I did not see the pearls in this like issue. I was seriously like,
no pearls.
I'm rage quitting whatever page it is. I don't care if it's page 2. I'm rage quitting if I see some damn pearls. And luckily we didn't see that. So
I will say I do have one gripe with that book, and that was there's a page where they show the Joker, and why the fuck was he really hot? And I'm like really confused and conflicted. And I'm like, can we not do this right now? Like, please. Yeah.
I've already trashed the Joker for so long for being so shitty to Harley. I don't need
make him
you.
Hot.
100%. And what's there's a serial killer that everyone seems to love because Ted Bundy. Everyone seems to love Ted Bundy now in like a thirsty way, and I do not approve.
Can we not do that?
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. I will trash you through. I will drag you through the sewer if you give me thirst trap Ted Bundy, and that's what the Joker has been. So they really do. They're drawn. Clay Mann's just drawn like a sexy Joker, and
it's gonna be a spicy book. Like that one scene with Selena in the bed with Bruce Wayne. I'm like, all right, I need a little bit more spice, please. You're in DC Black Label. I know you can do spice.
Yeah. There's a Batwing there somewhere. I'm looking at you, Batman Damned. So is there any, I know that you said that you picked up like some books, like some graphic novels.
Oh my God, did I pick up books? So I make a weekly trip to the library because our library is by pickup only, and I can only get there on Saturdays. And you think I got enough to read on top of everything else that I have to do?
Oh my goodness. Hold on, give me 1 second because I've got like a little stack of books.
And I think I'm missing books too. So like, but I'm really happy with what's here. So
this is my stack of just stuff that I've picked up recently, like graphic novels that I haven't read. Do
we want to go through real quick and just kind of touch on some stuff?
Yeah, just kind of blow through yours and I'll blow through mine. Yep.
Okay, so we got Kiss number 8. Kiss number 8, which is by First Second Comics. I love everything First Second Comics does because they do really, really nice all ages stories, and they tend to focus on queer stories. So this one is definitely queer. I'm in love with that. Mooncakes. This is by a smaller indie publisher, Roar. It's a romance fantasy book. It was recommended to me because I've been on a fantasy kick with reading books like Heartstopper. So this one has been on the list. Becoming Unbecoming. This is actually a book that I think of you when I look at it. So it has to deal with dealing with your trauma and dealing with internalized violence. And, it just seems like one of those really great storybooks. It doesn't really feel like a comic, whereas it more so feels like a picture book. So I'm excited to dive into this one, but I know it's going to be a very heavy read. For some reason in December, I always turn into Star Wars trash. I guess that's because they gave us the movies for so long, and now we've got Mandalorian. So I'm back on my bullshit, as the youngins would say. So Darth Vader Dark Visions, which I read in single issues when it came out, but it's one of my favorites. It's a really great Darth Vader story where it tells the perspective of stories involving Darth Vader from other people. And there's one story in here in particular about a girl who falls head over heels in love with Darth Vader. So it's basically me, and is doing everything in her way possible to make him love her. And it doesn't really bode well for her. So it's got some Harley Quinn vibes, but not like annoying Harley Quinn vibes. And then, of course, rereading Princess Leia, because
of course,
there's no doubt in that. I think from our streams, I've turned into X-Men trash, and I'm like, I don't really read a whole lot of X-Men. So I picked up Astonishing X-Men Volume 1, and Volume 3 is here. I got to wait for Volume 2. Really excited to dive into those. I read a single issue of Astonishing X-Men, and it was spicy as hell, and I'm like, all right, I want to read the rest of this. And then I'm going to take a chance on New X-Men by Grant Morrison.
Grant Morrison.
Heard nothing but good things, but I don't like Grant Morrison. I've always said that he is a glorified thesaurus where he just uses big words, but does not actually know how to create a structured plot point. So fingers crossed that I really love this.
I just have to say really quick, because I got so excited because you said that you were getting into X-Men, and I'm like, okay, like we did it. We can go home. Like another conversion
another
over to
successful
X-Men.
conversion.
However, the fact that you said that you don't like Grant Morrison, I'm a little bit salty of that. And just a reminder that Grant Morrison does use they, them pronouns.
That is right.
Yeah.
They do now use they, them pronouns.
I'm still, getting used to that. And I am, like, even with Elliot Page, Elliot Page using he pronouns. So
and thank you for correcting me on that.
You're very welcome. It's something that I really enjoy because I've been a big fan of Grant Morrison's work for a while, and it's I've watched a documentary about them, and after watching that documentary and then after just thinking about all of their books, I'm like, this makes so much sense. So thank you to Grant Morrison for being so brave. That's very
Absolutely.
cool. Love their work even more. I want to go ahead and just say really quick, hello, Cantonese Comic Kid. It was so fun streaming with you last night. Can't wait to do it again. Hope you're doing well this morning. Okay, on to your next ones.
And then the last two I have, so I'm finally going to read Black Hammer Justice League. I had picked this one up in single issues and loved it, but never actually finished it. I fell behind. So, and I'm the type of person where it's like, if I can pick it up in a trade format, I'm going to do that. So excited for this. And then surprisingly, I picked up Jimmy Olsen,
Matt Fraction?
Matt Fraction's Jimmy Olsen. And I've started reading this, and I'm about a quarter of the way through. And can I just say, I'm obsessed with this. I am not a Superman fan. I'm not a Jimmy Olsen fan. But Matt Fraction on any superhero book, I feel like just kills it. So if you have read his Hawkeye, if you love his Hawkeye, this I feel like is a no-brainer to pick up because it has that same sort of quirky style, indie comic feel vibe to it. So I'm loving this book. It's my favorite.
I think that I had read one or two issues of Jimmy Olsen, and once again, like, I'm not a big Superman fan, and if you're not a big Superman fan, you're probably not going to be a big Jimmy Olsen fan, because even not necessarily that it's obscure, but if you're reading the big Superman books, then that's a little bit different. So that's really cool. I'm a big fan of Matt Fraction's work, so. But I haven't read all of Jimmy Olsen, so I may see if I can pick that up in the big boy trade.
The big boy trade.
The big boy trade. So my the comics that I got, I don't really have a rhyme or a reason for how I pick things up, other than there's a used bookstore here, Powell's, whom, like, I love Powell's so much, and they do a lot of big, like, 20% off discounts, 30% off discounts, and they have a way that you can filter their books by used books, and then used that recently came in, because they accept used books. And I browse through there like 2 or 3 times a week, just saying, like, okay, what's new that came in. And so these were a couple things that came in used, and I'm like, duh, I'm gonna pick them up. And I must have been on, maybe it was just whoever was bringing in books. They were the ones that got these. But I picked up a lot of manga, which I don't read like a lot of manga. So the first one is Lady Snowblood. I had
Ooh.
watched the movie and had never picked this up. This one is kind of problematic. There is a lot of trauma in this, some triggering trauma, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for everyone. But I did want to read it. I always forget that you have to read it this way, so I'll start and I'm like, wait, what am I doing? Because you know, I'm not used to manga. So this was one of the first ones that I picked up, Lady Snowblood. I think that it ended up being like $6 or $7. So I spent
Now,
a
was
lot of
this
money.
one a movie first and then it was adapted into a manga, or
I
is it the
bel
opposite?
I'm not sure. I want to say that it was the manga first, but who knows? Someone correct me if someone is in the comments.
I
Like,
want to check this out though. This looks
yeah.
good.
So here we go. So that was one of the first ones, and like I said, for like $7, $8.
That's not bad. And he did confirm it was a manga first, so yay!
Yay, beautiful. Another one that I got, and once again, just because it was used, and I had never read the manga, but I got Evangelion Volume 1. It was only
I couldn't get into Ava. I tried. I fell asleep through the first episode.
Oh,
it's got
really?
a killer theme song, but I can't do it.
I love Evangelion, and so I understand if you can't get into it, but this the used one was $5. $5.
I'm waiting for Sinya to just jump through the chat and be like, "Did somebody say Evangelion?"
Evangelion. Like, all we need to do is say like Himbo, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and I don't know. Those would totally be her. Like,
do you think if we start playing the theme song, they'll just pop up? Like, do you think that's
yes.
like a beluga horn for them?
Yes, 100%. Which we should do that. So anyways, for like $5 and then 20% off that, it is a little bit like worn out here, but that's probably going to get worn out on my shelf anyway. So it's, it is what it is. And then miraculously, magically, Junji Ito's Gaio.
We stand Junji Ito
100%. And I think that now I have almost all of his books. Maybe I'm missing like one or two. There's like a couple new ones like Venus in the Blind Spot that I don't get. My partner actually like surprised me yesterday with The Dissolving Classroom and grabbed that for me. So that was kind of sweet.
And I love these hardcovers. I'm not a hardcover person at all, but they just look so pretty and they feel nice. Like,
so nice.
It's so nice.
It's like, it's so disturbing, but it's so like, it feels so good.
Is Gaio like, how some of his stories are like short stories compiled and then some are like a full-blown story? Is this one a full-blown one?
This one's a full-blown one. There's Shiver and there's another one, Smashed, and those two are the collections. So I'll actually be talking more about those in a little bit. But so this was one that I picked up. Initially, these are $23. It was available used for $15 plus another 20% off that. So for $14, like, and I didn't have this one, so I can't wait to get into that one. I also love peeling the stickers off. If you're one of my Patreons and you watch my Patreon videos, part of the unspoken benefits of being one of my patrons is that you get to watch me.
It's like ASMR.
It is like ASMR. Peel the stickers off of books that I get. So another one that I picked up was the Atomic Blonde comic. I had never read this, but I've watched the movie, and
I love that movie. It makes me feel a certain special way.
It's so good. And the original comic is called The Coldest City. I'll actually be joining friends talking nerdy to go over it and like do like a little book club in a couple weeks. So stay tuned for that. I'll go ahead and announce that. And for all of you who want a preview of what it's like to be a patron of mine.
So satisfying.
Yeah. Okay. Another one that I got, and I have no clue. Well, I do know why I got this. I had never read it before, and I'm like, Bill Willingham of Fables. I went ahead and picked up House of Mystery. This was $4 and it's in pretty good condition. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and
So
pick it up.
Pals kind of reminds me of like a Books a Million or a Second and Charles, which is what we have. The only difference is like, they have an online service where they list everything that's come in?
Yeah, and Powell's is local here
So
to
jealous.
like Portland and the Oregon area, and they're one of the largest new and used bookstores in the country. So when you come and visit me, because I know that you will,
Which will happen.
that is probably going to be one of the first places I take you. When I visited here in 2018, that was one of the places that I'm like, I'm going to go there all the time. And when I moved here, I specifically figured out my apartment so that I would be within like walking distance of Powell's, and I am. And I have spent an ungodly amount of money there. So
in other words, what you're saying is I should bring a second suitcase just for books.
100%, like
Got
maybe a third, because you're going to go to like 10 different comic book stores and we're going to go to Powell's. So,
nice.
Yep. Okay, so next on my list, and that's going to be All-Star Superman. It's been a very long time since I've read this. So another Grant Morrison book, Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely. We'll actually be reading this with Comic Chop News for the graphic novel book club.
I still need to read that book. It's always like, it's one that's always been on my list and I just never got around to reading it.
Jared, who knows about Powell's, they're the second largest bookstore in the world.
In the world?
It's an entire city block wide, and it's 3 or 4 stories, 4 stories, I think. So, and there's different sections.
Crap.
Yeah. So like I said, whenever you come and visit, we are going to go there, and I hope
coronavirus needs to go away.
Yeah, 100%. Everyone, wash your hands, wear your mask. Social
so I can go visit Jen.
Yes. This needs to happen. So in a couple weeks, you can join us over at Comic Chop News and reading All-Star Superman by Grant Morrison, Frank Quitely. The last one that I picked up, and I'm so ashamed that I haven't actually read the graphic novel yet, and it's the Dune graphic novel. We just finished. For me, this was my 3rd time reading Dune. We just finished it over on Comic Chop News, going chapter by chapter. We're taking about a month hiatus, and then next we're going to read Dune Messiah, and then we'll be reading Children of Dune, and then we are going to murder ourselves and read God Emperor of Dune, hopefully before the movie comes out, which it is going to be streaming on HBO Max. And we are going to watch it. I'm going to just take the day off, and I'm just going to watch it all day. So anyways, they did come out with a Dune graphic novel, which this one's an adaptation of the book, where there is another book coming, another comic book that is out right now by Boom Studios, which is Dune House Atreides, which is different than this graphic novel. So I haven't actually...
big.
It really is. It's a thick boy, but you know, when you think about how like thick this is,
yeah,
I would say this kind of pales in comparison. So this is another one that I do need to read. So I'll see if I can read this on my lunch break today or something. Let me go ahead and see. Kirby says, I need to visit Powell's one day. 100% you do. It's one of my favorite places on the planet. Jared also says, don't forget to go to the 4th floor and see the rare book section. It's a temperature controlled room with limited access. So they've got like incredibly rare first edition signed things, old books. So it's a really, really fun place. Okay. There have been worse times to be a Dune fan. I'm ready to spend all my money on Dune. Like, I know that there's action figures out there and there's pops, and I'm just ready. I'm ready for another Dune tattoo. I'm ready for another tattoo in general, but okay. Let's go ahead and get started. I know that one of the things that we wanted to talk about was gift giving ideas. Gift ideas, and you know, for holidays, for birthdays, for maybe you pissed your partner off and you want to get them a gift.
Maybe you just want to give a special gift to that person.
Maybe you just want to give a special gift to someone. We have I think that we have a really fun list.
I think so.
of things.
And I think
So
we have a really nice, at least on my aspect, because I'm cheap when it comes to my gift giving, but
mhm.
I know I tried to lean towards a lot of really affordable books, but a lot of really fun books too.
For sure. And I think that, we were talking earlier, like comics are for everyone. Comics are for everyone. There is a book for everybody. So you don't have to just be into superheroes. You can. So we're going to go ahead and go over some of these picks. Let's go ahead and like maybe go like back and forth with books. So you go ahead and here I always forget. You go ahead and go with the book, and then I'll go. So what
Okay.
is your and explain a little bit why, maybe explain
Yeah.
who this would be for too. So who's the demographic this book is for?
So, first book on my list is Apocalyptic Girl. This is one of my all-time favorite comics in general. It is published by Dark Horse, and it is written and illustrated by Andrew McLean. So this is literally a sci-fi epic about the apocalypse. This has major Studio Ghibli vibes. Like, I'm not even kidding when I say that this book
Yes.
looks and feels like a giant semi-adult, because there is some blood and gore, so I wouldn't necessarily give it to children, but maybe like 15 or 14 and above. But it follows a girl and her cat Jelly Bean as they try to basically find their way back home as they're stranded on Earth in the apocalypse. Now, one of the reasons I picked this is not only because it's just a fun one-shot indie book that
Mhm.
has Studio Ghibli vibes, so I feel like that appeals to a large audience. But A, it's really cute like this. And B, so the version that me and Jen have is the first print original publishing. So it's a lot smaller than your average comic book. And when it first debuted, it was only $9.99. However, this did go out of print, so some stores do still have it. You can still find it online for a pretty decent price. However, they did just re-release a couple months ago a hardcover extended edition, which is now $19.99, but it does include some additional pages and some additional concept art. So I think that either or, whether you get the original Apocalyptic Girl, which I love that it's pocket sized. I just love the size of it. I love the whole look and feel of this book, but I think either or book is really great for somebody that either doesn't like comics, maybe they really do love Studio Ghibli and Hayao Miyazaki movies, or just like fun girl gang-ish books in general. And it's got a cat, and his name is Jelly Bean, so I feel like that's enough reason to sell the book.
100%. And I think that this book is kind of underrated. This book, because it did
Nobody
come.
ever talks about it.
No, and I think that, there were obviously books like Saga that were coming out and things like that around the same time that this, because this one came out in what, 2015, 2016, maybe? Maybe a little bit later than
20.
that.
I know I picked it up pretty early into my like
Yeah.
comic book career, and the reason I picked it up is A, because like it's cute and I like the color of it and it's aesthetically pleasing, but because it was only $10, 2015.
2015.
So it was only $10. I'm like, why not pick it up? And then, like I said, it ended up becoming one of my favorite books. And I think I've read this book like 14 times or something. It's a ridiculous amount of times that I've read this because it is so short and sweet.
So kind of in the same vein of Apocalyptic Girl, there's one book that I really, really enjoyed. This one came out this past year, and it just blew me away with the artwork, the themes. I really, really loved this, and I feel like there's a lot of similarities between these books, especially the apocalyptic themes, surviving the apocalypse, as well as some of the artwork. And that's actually going to be Wonder Woman Dead Earth by Daniel Warren Johnson. When you take a look at the two like art styles, I feel like if you like one of these, I'm going to try to like do this fancy like.
Should I do one and you do the other?
Yeah, like if you go ahead and
we can
pull
do
up a
that.
page of that like you get to see Skeleton Superman. Man, I'm trying to figure like a good page.
She's trying to get a good page.
Maybe this one right here. Yeah.
It's got a very unique style to it.
100%. And it's so cool to see some of our favorite DC characters like Wonder Woman. You also get to see
Cheetah pops up in that book as well.
Cheetah, oh my
But
goodness.
what I like about Wonder Woman Dead Earth is everybody knows who Wonder Woman is, but you can go into this book reading it knowing nothing other than the name of Wonder Woman. Because it is an alternate universe, like Elseworlds-esque story that feels really indie in a way.
Can you see Batman dead on a couch right there?
Dead
Like,
on a couch. He didn't make it. Sorry, bud.
um, I just this book was so good. I really enjoyed it. This one is, this hardcover is $30.
Mhm.
So, a little bit of a bigger price point than say Apocalyptic Girl. So
But you can also probably find the 3 issues for probably cheaper because I think they were what, $6 when they came out, and you could get them all for $18 and give them to somebody and just be like, here's 3 books that go together.
yeah. Let me see. One,
Or was it
two,
4?
it was 4.
4.
So there are the single issues, and they are in the same like big boy, thick boy format. So yes, and I'm sure there's probably people wondering like, how does she have those like right there? I just got some magazine bags and boards, and I just need to go ahead and like I've got all of the like recent DC single
Mhm.
issue things going on, so need to go ahead and do those. Cool. What is your next one?
Well, since we're on like a Ghibli like theme vibe here, and because I feel like everybody, not everybody, but most people either love Ghibli or know what Ghibli is. I feel like Ghibli is like
Mhm.
the new basic bitch thing to love, and that's okay. I'm totally saying that as like a compliment because I also love Studio Ghibli. But I'm going to recommend Isla
Yes.
as a contender for gift giving this holiday season because it is another book that is only $10. And this is like a Studio Ghibli story, but I also think that it has major, major Avatar The Last Airbender vibes, which is hilarious because when I hang out with Brendan Fletcher, who wrote Isla, he was like, I've never even watched it, but people tell me that all the time. And I'm like,
Mhm.
so you need to watch Avatar then. But it tells the story of a knight and a queen, and the queen gets turned into a tiger, and they have to travel their way to the mystical, fabled land of Isla, which may or may not exist, to break the spell of the queen being a tiger. And it's a really great, subtle, queer romance story.
Yes.
But it's also just a really great adventure story. Not only that, but Carl Kerschel, I'm losing my headphones here. Carl Kerschel does some of the most gorgeous work in comics, period. This book is just a treat to look at. This is
Hold that
another
up
book.
closer. I wanna.
Hold on.
Oh,
Let's make a page
oh.
here.
I've got it. I've got it right here in front of me. But I love it. It's
Like
so good. Yeah.
Carl Kerschel does some of the best work in comics. He was also on Teen Titans Year One, which is another really great story for new readers because it's self-contained. But this is another one of those books that I just like. Like, just look at that. Who does that in comics, y'all? Who actually compares? But Isla is fantastic. There are 2 volumes out right now as the book is taking a small hiatus. But it's another book that I've read like over and over and over again, and I just fall in love with it. And this is a great book because it's really great for all ages. I have a couple of younger readers. This is actually the first book that I ever did when I did the book club at the comic book shop when I worked there. So, and we had a large crowd from like 11 to like 55 reading this book and loving it. So it's
Mhm.
a really great, really fun book for casual readers.
I agree, and I think especially for some of the younger readers that maybe parents are looking for a gift for their younger ones, that is going to tell an adventure that deals with some serious subjects, but not
Yeah.
necessarily in a gore or violent way.
Or mature way. You know, it
Yes,
feels like I said, it's Avatar The Last Airbender. Avatar dealt with some very mature subjects while doing it to an all like constructing a story that was viewed by an all ages audience.
for sure, for
And
sure.
I agree with Kirby's comment. The simplistic cover of Apocalyptic Girls First Edition is my all-time favorite. Might be one of my all-time favorite trade dresses, period.
Hmm.
And I haven't had a chance to pick up the second edition, but I'm going to because I love it that much. But I totally agree.
Yeah.
So what you got?
A lot of mine, this is kind of tough because, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do this. I feel like because I'm a big X-Men fan, and I've really been loving a lot of the, I'm a big fan of Hickman. I love East of West. East of West was one of my like, this is how I got into Hickman, and I love him for it. And I totally enjoyed the Ten of Swords series that just came out. I really did, even though there were some up and down weeks with it. It was an overall fun series. However, I think that I think that people should
That's a
read.
big boy.
It is. I know I keep doing that. I'm like, oh, I'm going to do some like budget comic books. These aren't the two that I recommended, Wonder Woman, Dead Earth, and House of X, Powers of X, definitely are not like budget books by any means. But if you want to get maybe a special gift for someone, this one did just come out in paperback. So if maybe you want a budget version of it, go ahead and do the paperback. I ended up getting this one 50% off. So not bad for a $60 book. But this House of X, Powers of X does some fun things with the X universe. Like I said, I'm a really big fan of Hickman. I really love what he's been doing. And this to me is kind of like the start
I
of
still
all
need
of
to
that.
read House and Powers of X one day.
One day. Maybe you'll get it as a gift.
Maybe.
So if anyone wants to go get Mars a gift, you know that she hasn't read House of X, Powers of X. So anyways, this was a big one in the same way that the Ten of Swords event was, where there were like multiple titles kind of tying into everything. This was, I think, 12 issues, if I recall, maybe a little bit more, but man, it was a lot of fun. It exposed like really, really big ideas. Hickman does his classic Hickman dump, where he just like info dumps you with like, this is the history of what's going on. This is like the family tree. This is the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
I love insane sci-fi concepts like that. And then this just, it did it. So I think that, and this came out last year. So I think that if there's someone in your life who likes X-Men but didn't get into this, there you see like every single mutant in this, and I just really love it. And I really love Hickman. I want him to do X-Men forever, but I also want more stories like East of West. I'm kind of meh about his decorum right now, but yeah. What is your next pick?
So the next one I don't physically have, but I want to talk about it now because I feel like if I don't do it now, I'm going to forget about it. And I know you have one, so it'll help me out a little bit. But Marvel publishes these really great, smaller collected format books. What's really weird is they don't have them under like a publishing line per se. So it can be a little hard if you're looking for them online, but they are usually around $12.99. They have them for books like Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, Unstoppable Wasp, Ironheart, Riri Williams, and my favorite, which is the Kate Bishop, Hawkeye, Private Detective. And these are just really great because they're really great Marvel stories that I personally think are perfect for all ages. So like Hawkeye in particular, absolutely one of my favorite. If you love the Matt Fraction run, you got to pick up the Kelly Thompson run. But again, the fact that they are $12.99, and I know that the Hawkeye one in particular covers all, I think, like 15 issues of the book. So that's the whole run for you right there in a nice affordable format. And then they are pretty much about the size of like Apocalyptic Girl. So they are smaller than your normal trade format. So I really just like these cute little pocket editions. They're a really great way to get people into new yet familiar characters. A lot of people right now are really loving Miles Morales because of the video game and because of Into the Spider-Verse and just because he's a great character in general. So like if you have somebody, family, cousin, nephew, niece, child that wants to get into this character, these are really great accessible books that are self-contained and you can read really without any prior knowledge. And it has there's some of the best characters like Ms. Marvel, Unstoppable Wasp, Hawkeye, Miles. Like it's a no-brainer to pick these up. They're perfect gifts.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, because the only one that I have is this small Spider-Gwen one. But you said that there's a Riri Williams one, and like, so I have the hardcover here, and this was $25. So to get the same thing, like literally, it's the same thing in like a tinier, nicer little version, and for
it's really
half the
affordable.
price, like, come on, and even
like let's look at Hawkeye. They're like 15 or 16 bucks a pop, and there's
17.
3 books. 17.
This one's 17. I mean, if it's the same,
but that's seven. It is. It's 17 times 3 versus getting the smaller pocket one for $12.99. And like I was worried when they first came out that there was going to be like a dip in quality, but there isn't. I think the only difference is really the fact that it's a pocket-sized edition, and to be honest, that doesn't make too much of a difference. You get worried about compressing formats, but it still looks really, really nice.
You know, we were talking earlier about Apocalyptic Girl, and one thing that I realized, something like this, I know not everyone's in a beachy area, but this is like a perfect little beach read.
Mm-hmm.
You can seriously just throw this into whatever beach bag that you have. I used to live in Florida, and I lived a 10-minute walk from the beach, which I don't anymore. Would I never really went anyways.
It's
But if
great
I
for
want
transit reads too. Like if you're on your
transit
way to
reads,
work.
yes, 100%. Like this would be a perfect little, like, even if you don't read the whole thing on the way there, read half of it on the way there, half of it on the way back. I would say
Mm-hmm.
especially like, come on. And you're right, for the $10, $12 that you're looking, sorry, this is $10 as well. So for $10, like you cannot go wrong with those
And there's more room for
whatsoever.
your shelf. You can probably fit double on your shelf.
I don't know about that.
Think about.
Um, I really do need to redo these shelves, so gotta keep talking about it. So one day I will go ahead and I want to go ahead and say hello to Puff, stopping by to say hi, and we'll catch on the replay. Thank you so much, Puff. You are so awesome. Thank you for stopping by. Um, so we were just talking about the um like the little books. I know that I keep pulling out hardcovers, but seriously, um, I know I was seriously going into this with like, I want to pull some budget books because that's like a big part. I love getting used books for that reason. This one was not used, but I did get it at a 50% off sale from my local comic book shop. But I really think, and we talked about this a little bit, I think, but Naomi,
Mm-hmm.
we're getting a CW show, and I think that, like especially for this holiday season, and this doesn't even have to be like a young person in your life. You can get it for the jaded 30-something-year-old in your life too, who just needs a palate cleanser from stuff like Wonder Woman Dead Earth. But Naomi, this was so good. She's about to get her own series on the CW. Now, initially, I wasn't um, thinking about it being on the CW. The Batwoman show was on CW, and I hated it. And it was so hyped up. But I think that when I want Batwoman, I want it to be darker. I want it to be grittier.
I want it on
And
HBO Max.
yes, I need like how like Watchmen was on HBO. I need Batwoman on HBO. However, I did just go ahead and start watching Stargirl, which was so, I've only
It's
watched
a
the
lot
first
of fun.
episode. I seriously, just the first episode, and I'm like, I'm sold. So after watching Stargirl, the first episode, and then hearing the news about Naomi, I'm like, I'm so down. Any negative feelings that I had about CW shows, I was like, I'm all in. I'm all in to see Naomi. I'm all in to see it on CW. I believe this is in a um, trade. I think that it's
I
not just
think the trade
hardcover.
paperback just came out.
Okay, so you can get it for a little bit cheaper than the $25, I think that it was. Yeah, $20 for the hardcover.
Mm-hmm.
But seriously, Naomi's so good. Empowered female character. I think a lot of young people are gonna like Naomi, and I think that if you have a young person in your life, get them this so then they could be the cool kid at school. That's like, I read the comic book before the TV show came out, so so yeah, Naomi was really fun.
It's just a good
Great
read.
superhero, 100%. And we mentioned Riri Williams Ironheart. We mentioned Miles Morales, and now Naomi. Seriously, shout out to Brian Michael Bendis who created all of these characters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's another pick for you?
So this one, this is my absolute favorite comic book of all time. So of course I'm going to be giving it as a gift any chance I can. Not only that, but it has a really affordable price of $9.99, and that is We Can Never Go Home from Black Mass Comics. Listen,
Mm-hmm.
this comic, I think I have read more. I might have actually read this one more than Saga, which I didn't think was possible.
What?
So yeah, that's how much I listen, I love We Can Never Go Home so much that I bugged Joshua Hood so much that I love this comic that he sent me a drawing of Madison as a gift because I love this book so much, and because I'm never getting a sequel and I'm forever sad about it. So I guess that's my consolation prize. But We Can Never Go Home is a story about two kids. It's a very punk-filled story. So this one is not for kids. There's a lot of cursing. There is some nudity. But it's about these two kids that have superpowers, and they have a gun, and the government, I guess, wants to come and take them away and use them as super weapons or something. And so they do what kids do, and they run away, and they get involved with a gang, and they get involved with each other. And it is one of my favorite books of all time, just because it has so much heart. It has so much spunk. This is the book that kicked Matthew Rosenberg's career. So Matthew Rosenberg
What
doing
else
a shit ton of
has he
stuff at
done?
Marvel right now.
Okay, thank you.
He did Punisher. He's done Punisher. He did. But why am I blanking? He's done so much. He did a bunch of Uncanny X-Men stuff. Punisher.
Yeah.
He's done it all, I feel like. So, and he's going to be doing some of the Future State stuff with Grifter, which I'm really excited about. But this book in general has one of my favorite scenes in comics of all time. If I can pull it up, because it is this 2-page spread that they did trying to find Madison a superhero costume. And it basically plays off of every famous comic book costume period and critiques it. So it's just one of my favorite parts of comics, and it's the reason I love comics. But like I said, this book is just a lot of heart. It's a lot of fun. It's a really great original story that anybody, I feel like, could get into. And like I said, the fact that it is only $10. That's my favorite type of gift, is to give a book that's only $10.
$10, seriously. I did read that one. I read it digitally. Comic Chop News, that was one of our first books that, I mean, not like the first book, but one of the first books that I was on for their graphic novel book club.
And I wasn't invited, and now I'm upset. Remind me to yell at Dan.
I don't even think I knew you at the time, so I'm so glad that we do know each other now, because we're going to talk all the things. I do want to go ahead and remind everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thank you for everyone in the chat. I'd love if everyone just says hi if you're watching in the chat, and go ahead and shout that out. I also want to remind everyone that Mars, there's a link to your Patreon as well as your YouTube in the chat. There is also a link to the Comic Chop News channel that I do weekly shows on. There is a link in the chat for that. When we wrap all this up, because I've still got a couple more books, when we wrap all of this up, I will be making a bookshop.org like wish list or book list, because Bookshop is kind of like, if Amazon is the villain, then bookshop.org is the hero, because you can get discounted books from them, but instead of it going to some trillionaire, profits actually get split and sent to local independent bookstores. So if you don't have a local independent bookstore nearby, you can go to bookshop.org and buy a book from there. Money goes to independent bookstores. So when this link is, or whenever this video is done, in the link on the replay, there will be a link in here for bookshop.org. All of the books that we're mentioning, at least all the ones that are on there, will be on there. So really quick, I do just want to go ahead and say hi to everyone who's in the chat. I see Travis, thank you so much for being here. I see Varangian, Vigilante. I know I always pronounce that wrong, so I'm so sorry about that. And then Jared, thank you so much for being here. Got Comic Book G-Spot, once again, had a fantastic show yesterday. So as more and more people pop into the chat, just keep saying hi and keep saying hello. And I'm going to do that, like, don't forget to like and subscribe, bam. Like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. I guess I'm like,
that's how the cool kids do it now.
That's how the cool kids do it. Or, you know, or don't. I don't know. I don't want to, whatever. So I do want to go ahead and bring this book up, because
why didn't I put that on my list? I'm so upset.
Well, you just knew that I was going to put it on my list, and it's so funny that you were talking about the grid paneling and We Can Never Go Home, and how they do like the superhero outfits, because that is totally how Mr. Miracle and
Miracle is a 9-panel page, every page all day long,
every single page.
I believe it claimed an eighth of Mitch Gerard's soul.
100%, like it's his Horcrux. Mr. Miracle, in every Mr. Miracle book, there is a Mitch Gerard's Horcrux. So yeah, the way, not just the grid storytelling, but this emotional story, Mr. Miracle deals with a lot of trauma,
personal feelings, and becoming a new parent. And while that's not something I can't relate to, but I can still relate to his feeling of belonging and family belonging and depression, because Mr. Miracle starts off really, really intense, you know, and it really catches you off by surprise right in the beginning, but it's a good one.
100%. And you know, you said that there's something that everyone can relate to in this book, and I think the biggest thing that I can relate to in this book is just really wanting to smash Big Barda
Oh,
or get
totally,
smashed by
100%.
Big Barda. I know we talk about
100%.
so it just under an hour we clocked in talking about our love for Big Barda and just wanting to like get fucking railed by Big Barda.
But can we talk about my favorite scene of Mr. Miracle? Because it's when Big Bard is giving birth and the female Furies are in the hospital. And it's just the way that Mitch Gerard draws all the female Furies. And there's the one panel where Lashina is like leg up. So you know she's gay as hell because no straight person sits like that. And she's just like, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, fuck, you're coming home with me tonight, please.
Yeah, 100%. Like
I'm mad that this book was drawn digitally because I would give everything I own to own that page and the Granny Goodness page. And I even talked to Mitch Gerard about it, and he's like, it's all digital. And I'm like, well, fuck, can you make some prints? Like, listen, I love this book so much. Oh, you can't see it. It's up there. Never mind. I have a Mr. Miracle and Big Barda Mitch Gerard's print up there of the one cover with them on it. And I just love this book, man. Everybody should love this book, even if you don't like superheroes. Like, I feel like a lot of people look at it and they're like, it's a superhero book. And I'm like, but it's not.
But it's not.
It has that Matt Fraction indie comic vibe to it where it's like so self-contained where, like, yeah, they throw Batman, like Batman kills babies, but that's about it. That's all you get.
And once again, like, it's a romance story. It's a love story. There's some really cute moments whenever Miracle Man or Mr. Miracle and Big Barda are like fighting, and they're talking about like redecorating their kitchen and stuff like that, or their house, and it's just really cute. It's kind of wholesome. It is dark and gritty, but it's very slice of life.
And it's got some very funny moments to it, like the veggie tray. Veggie tray is my favorite. It's just,
you got to get a veggie tray every time.
Funny. Like, shut the fuck up. I want a t-shirt that says shut the fuck up, Light Ray. Can we make them? Can we make those t-shirts?
Let's do it. So I really think that anyone who likes superheroes doesn't like superheroes. Mr. Miracle will bridge the way for people who are into superheroes, maybe to go over to indies. So another highly recommend here. One that I did forget to mention earlier, because we were talking about the like younger readers books that were specifically Marvel. I do really want to take a quick DC Inc.
I think just DC in general right now, because I think that they've dissolved DC Inc. and I think now they're just like, so it's still DC Inc., but it's not under that name. I think it's just like their DC Comics original graphic novel line. So we still get Mara Tidebreaker, we still get that Catwoman Under the Moon, which I personally wasn't crazy about. But you've also got really great books like Superman Smashes the Klan. First of all, book of the year, Superman Smashes the Klan. Please punch your local fucking Nazi because Superman told you to.
Yeah.
That one, what is the other one? There's a Zatanna book. There is The Shadow of the Batgirl. There's Oracle Code.
My
there's
favorite.
Freeman Legacy. Exactly.
My favorite is Swamp Thing. 100%.
They're so good. Like, they have no right to be as good as they are.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's where DC Comics is thriving right now. So even if you're a hardcore comic fan like we are, and you're just sick and tired of the bullshit that DC's doing right now, go and pick up their original graphic novels, because that's where they're shining right now. I'm sorry. It's perfect.
So I have kind of like one stack left, and this one, I don't know if you have any other ones, but I think that
I have 3, but I can knock it to 2 easy.
I think that this is where this is going to be one big theme that we do. I'm going to go ahead and call this one the Modern Image Starter Pack. And I think that there's so many Image titles that we really loved. And if you want to start getting into independent comic books, these are the ones. I know that you really loved this one. I'm a big fan of it. Die Number 1 is so freaking good.
This is a good book.
Jumanji, D&D. These kids go into a D&D game, go into this other world, and they do not come back. And like Stephanie Hahn's artwork, like, come on.
It's got some of the most creative characters. First of all, if you have a friend who loves D&D, who plays D&D
Yes.
weekly, but made
Yes.
read comics, first of all, this is the gift that you have to buy them. I have bought this for so many friends that just play D&D but don't read comics, and they come out of it being obsessed with it because it's like reading your friend's D&D campaign. It's like if you decided to write fan fiction for your D&D story, this is basically what you get. The character designs are amazing. There's even a rule set in the back of the book. I think it takes you to the link where you can actually play the die campaign and follow the rules. So it's like a 2-for-1 gift for your D&D friends. And I know that me and Jen have railed on die pretty hard with how it's been going lately, but this first book alone, you could read this and not read anything else after that.
Yeah.
And it's just a phenomenal story. I know that this book has only been out a year, but I think I've read this one 3 or 4 times already. That's how much I love it.
Die is one that I consistently pick up every week or every month. It's part of my pull list. And the story is getting a little bit, I don't know, not consistent lately. However, this first volume is one of my just all time.
It's so tight and so solid.
Yep. Do you have another one?
I have for Image. This is a no-brainer. I think I've bought this book like 40 times. Let's be honest, it's Saga Volume 1. I've always said that if you don't like Saga, then you're not a real human. You're a lizard cryptoid, Mark Zuckerberg fiend. But Saga is one of the best comics you will ever read. There's something magical about this book that just connects with people that don't read comics and don't like comics. And I don't know if it's because it tells such a relatable story, despite being a story about hot spider women and men with TV heads. I do have Matt Fraction. Hold on. I do have Matt Fraction's Hawkeye on our list. So yes, that is a very good Christmas book. But yeah, Saga is just, I always call it like a modern comic Star Wars that's just really, really fucking weird. It's so good. It's so perfect. I want Saga to come back. But yeah, buy this for your friends because it is only $9.99. Buy multiple copies like I have and just give them blindly. Just wrap them up. Just be like, you get a Saga, you get a Saga. You all get Saga.
100%. This one is probably my most recommended book. Whenever someone asks me like, what are some of your favorites? Like, of course I'm going to say Sandman because that's like the big favorite. But Saga for sure is like the modern classic, I think. It's been on a 2-year hiatus, but that's okay because it should have given everyone enough time to read the first 9 volumes. So 100%, if you want to get someone into Saga, get them this. I did pull this out because, of course,
It's so big.
This one is pretty big. It's $60, and it contains the first 9 volumes in it. So this one is really big. It's heavy, but I think that if you want to, instead of getting someone else the big hardcovers of Saga, this big paperback is incredible. $60
See, I'm
for
the
the first 9
opposite.
volumes.
I don't like that because it is so heavy and I feel like it's so easy to bend. I really love the hardcovers that Saga did because I just feel like they fit better in my hand. And they do just look really, really nice on a shelf too. So, and they make good coffee table books.
It's funny because like Paper Girls, which I think we're going to talk about in a second, the 3rd one just came out and someone was like, oh yeah, are you picking up the hardcover for that? And I'm like, I don't even have the hardcovers for Saga. So that's probably going to be one of my next like dumb bitch money spends is going ahead and getting the Saga
hardcovers. They're pretty.
Yeah,
and they've got some really nice extra stuff in the back. And I only have the first one, but when I always go to read Saga, because I do have these little small ones, I always find myself reading the big boys because, like I said, they just fit so much better and it feels, I don't know, there's something about it that makes me warm and fuzzy.
What's next on your list?
Well, we kind of teased it already. It is the first volume of Paper Girls because, again, This is another book that is $9.99. It is also, I feel like these two books in particular, I feel like these are on every comic site booktuber list
100%.
because they're just so accessible to new and old readers. Both are by Brian K. Vaughan, by the way. But Paper Girls has some serious Stranger Things vibes. It's aliens, it is time travel, it's the 80s, it's gorgeous Cliff Chang art, and it's just really great for casual readers. So I hate saying that books are great for female readers or for male readers because comics are for everybody. I'm not trying to gender my comics, but this one I do tend to gear towards female readers, especially younger female readers that are like preteens or teenagers, because it is such a relatable tale, because it is a story of family and camaraderie between these four girls. So love Saga, or not love Saga, well, love Saga, but love Paper Girls, love buying it for people. It's another one that has, like we were just talking, those really nice hardcover collections. So if you want to spend a little bit more money, you can always pick up those for the person in your life. Or if you want just a cheap $10 book, and usually you can get them for cheaper than $10 now. Saga and Paper Girls and Die, basically any Image Comics first, is perfect gift giving.
100%. I went to go grab it, but I don't have it. But I would also recommend Descender, cute little sci-fi story. So you get a little bit of everything. You get like sci-fi, you get fantasy, you get books that are both. You get books. So seriously, like almost any Image Volume 1 is going to do it.
100%.
So that's pretty much like seriously, like holiday gift buying, casual gift buying, anniversary, birthday, things like that. Like that would definitely.
You just want to get somebody into comics, throw one of these at them.
And a lot of times, you know, depending on the person who has a lot of single issues, like, you know, depending on what their comic collecting journey is like, I think that this list that we just went over is a list for everyone. You've got budget, you've got like special nice gifts if you do want to go ahead and get the hardcovers and go all out. Really say sorry, you know, you messed up and you're like,
and then
I need to say
hopefully
sorry.
we talked about some books too that maybe you haven't heard of, or maybe that you haven't read, and we'll go and pick up for yourself, because Christmas is the season of giving, but it's okay to treat yourself too every once in a while.
100%. Like I said, I'm probably going to go ahead and maybe treat myself to the Saga hardcovers because I don't have those. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. I do want to go ahead and say thank you to everyone in the comments who showed up. Thank you so much to Will and the Kid, Comic Book G-Spot, Comic Book Steals and Deals. I'm going to just go through Gore Vidal, Travis Murray, Jared, thank you, Varangian, thank you so much for being here. Let's go ahead and see. I'm so sorry if I missed someone. I'm trying to go through. We got Stay Puff who came through. Hopefully you enjoy watching on the rewind. We've got Tacoma Comics. Thank you so much for being here. I know I saw Oregon, Kirby, man, seriously, Articulated Heroines popped up for a little bit. Thank you so much for being here. I feel like I'm missing someone, so I do just want to go ahead and say thank you to all of you. MJ Comics, thank you for being here. Cantonese Comic Kid, we did a show last night. Thank you so much for being here. I almost think that's everyone. Yeah, so that was everyone that I can see here. So thank you so much for being here, Mars. So for everyone who's still watching, you know, go and subscribe to Mars as well. What type of content do you have coming up on your show?
I have a store tour that I'm actually in the process of editing. I filmed it like a couple months ago, and then things happened, and I'm finally getting around to it. So I did a store tour for Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, which is one of my favorite shops. It's huge. It's punk. It's just a lot of fun. So I have that. I'm also going to be doing a recap of my favorite things that I read this year, because I've read so far 93 graphic novels, which I'm really proud of myself. Like, I know you read 100 in a month, but listen, I gotta give myself a break here. So I'm hoping to hit 100 either by the end of the year, or hopefully maybe next year hit it. So I definitely want to do a recap, because I feel like I read some of my all-time favorite books this year, and discovered a lot of books that I just like zeroed in on and became obsessed with. And maybe that's because I was isolated due to the pandemic. I also really want to do a like favorite new series that popped up this year, because despite being in a pandemic, we saw a lot of really, really great new series and things that I just want to talk about.
For sure. I want to say hi to Dylan, who just
Hi,
stopped
Dib.
by. Thank you so much for being here from the Comic Lounge. They do some really fun things. They've been doing lots of creator interviews. Absolutely love it. So thank you there. A couple things that I do, like I said in the comments, like and subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Go ahead and do those things. Do it for both of us. You can also catch me on Fridays doing Comic Chop News. We go over like the weekly stuff, like the weekly news, the weekly pickups that we enjoyed, and then just other random stuff. I assume that you join us for the random just stuff. That is also where we did the Dune over, where we reread Dune. For me, it was the third time. I think for them, it was like third time. And we had Cynthia, who was a new reader to Dune. So that was fun exploring with her. We will be doing Dune Messiah and Children of Dune as well on that channel, kind of going like week by week reading it, hopefully finishing up that and God Emperor before the movie comes out. And then, so I do that Friday mornings right now. That may change though on Comic Chop News since our schedules are kind of weird. And then Friday nights, we also have the comic book review crew on Hero and the Kid. I'll go ahead and put the link in the for the replay. I'll go ahead and put that in there so you can go ahead and follow. And then I'm just kind of everywhere. I like to pick fun and just kind of like go different places. And once again, when this is over, I'll be putting in a bookshop.org list of all the books that we talked about. So you can buy things from bookshop.org instead of going through Amazon for these gifts, because when you buy from bookshop.org, the money actually goes to locally owned bookstores and comic book stores. Comic book stores are on there as well. So I think right now they're close to having given $10 million away.
That's crazy.
To local bookstores because they split up the profit and then mail these checks to stores. So that's really cool. Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank
I
you for
really
having
appreciate
me.
you. And maybe we'll do another one this upcoming Sunday. Who knows?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
become like a routine at this
I
point. Like,
know.
we're just gonna do another. It's casually comics. Thanks for hanging out.
Casually
Next week we need to get like mimosas and like chill and have like a real bougie casual comic Sunday.
I have to go to work afterwards, so I don't know about mimosas, but
Cup of coffee and some comics.
you know, it's so funny, really quick. I always hate it when like things don't end really quickly. One of my friends was watching the show and she's like, "Did you have two different mugs? Like what happened there?" So I did. I
I
had
didn't
myself.
even notice.
So for anyone who was like, "What the hell is going on?" Because this whole like hour stream, and like you can probably hear it in my voice where it gets a little bit like cracky towards the end. So I did have my cup of coffee, and now I am sipping on my tea. So I'm about to sip on some tea before I go to work. So thank you
Sounds like a fun
again.
Sunday.
Check Mars out. Link is down here. Like and subscribe and notification bell and all the things. Bye, friends.
Bye.
Bye.